Welcome to Collecting Chaos. I thought I'd show you a few more random comics. I just reached into one of my boxes and grabbed a handful. And then I made sure there was about 30 of them. Took them out of the bags and boards because they will eventually go into Mylar. And while I'm doing that, I'll just show them to you and maybe make some comments occasionally. But basically, I'm just going to talk some more. And what I want to talk about is back in probably the late 80s or early 90s, I was asked a question: would I ever consider having a comic book sent in for restoration? And my immediate answer was no. Because this was a period of time that restoration was, like making a deal with the devil. It's just not something you did. I think I'm out of focus here a little bit. The autofocus isn't working the way it should. That looks better. So, like I said, obviously I said no. And at that time, not only did you not consider things like restoration, but you wouldn't consider cleaning a comic. Absolutely, if you pressed a comic, you wouldn't tell anybody. And you certainly would never tell anybody if you removed a spine roll, even though it was done quite often. Those were things that you just didn't talk about. It's just, it was taboo. Times have really changed. Here it is, nearly 30 years later, and not only do people talk about that, they actively engage in cleaning a comic, pressing comics. I've always removed spine rolls if they were severe, but I'm willing to talk about it now, but back then there's no way I would even talk about it. I got to talk about this book for a second. This is Rob Liefeld's art. Hawk and Dove, he did a 5-issue, I think it was 5-issue miniseries back in 1988 for DC Comics. And I will always consider this some of the best Rob Liefeld art ever done. I actually did have the chance of having these signed, but I told him no, that I didn't, they were mint or near mint, and I wanted to keep them that way, so I didn't want them signed. I don't think he likes me very much. But yeah, if you have a chance to pick up that 5-issue miniseries, do it. It's a good read. And like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's some of his best artwork. And then it led into an ongoing series featuring those two characters. The hawk, the male hawk and the female dove. By far, in my opinion, the best hawk and dove that there were. I even like that incarnation of Hawk and Dove better than the original from the late 60s, and that's saying something. I rarely like something better than I like the 60s or the original 60s stuff. So anyway, here it is 30 years later, and I've been thinking a lot about that question. Would I ever have a comic that I would consider having restored? And the general answer is still no, because basically I don't remember seeing a comic that was in such bad shape that it would need restoration. Well, going through my collection. This is another really good series. I only have number 2 now. I used to have all 3 of them. Another really good Hawk World is definitely a good read. But like I said, I never really had a comic that I would consider having a restoration. But going through my collection recently, I ran across a comic that was in fairly bad shape. And I graded it a poor to incomplete. And I'm going to show it to you right now. This has been through a fire. It's been through water. The cover is ripped across. It's missing the back cover, which is why I say it's incomplete. Missing a big chunk here. The pages are actually, the pages aren't that bad. I think the pages are generally cream to off-white. But you can tell it's had some rough times. And if I was going to pay to have a comic restored, I think this is the one that I would consider. Unfortunately, the restoration would cost more than what the comic is worth. So it'll remain in my collection as is. Until I either decide to go ahead and have it restored professionally or get a replacement copy. Short video today, but that's all I have to say. We went through those comics pretty quick. And like I said, I gave this... I'm going to actually zoom in on this so you can see it a little better. You still won't be able to see it, I don't think. That's the label that I put on the back of each of my comics. It has the title, the issue, who published it, the page quality, and any other notes I decided to add, the date, the condition as I see it, and this number over here is the collection number, the number that it has in my collection, so I can find the comic easily if I want to. And I put this in a date. I make up the labels in batches of 30 because that's the way they come on the sheet. And as I'm doing that, I put the comic in Mylar and grade it. And after I print the labels, I put it in a database, affix the labels to the MyLite, fold it down, and put the painter's tape on it, because painter's tape is so much better. I've actually had painter's tape that stuck to the comic, and I was able to remove it easily without destroying the comic. Anyway, that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you again on the next one. Bye.